A petite girl entered the airport, her cold expression contrasting sharply with her youthful appearance. She was dressed casually in an oversized hoodie, paired with denim jeans with a cap partially hide her face. As she adjusted the strap of her bag, a cheerful voice rang out behind her. Wine, before she could react, Hazel dashed toward her and wrapped her in a tight hug. Hey, calm down, you are crushing my bones. Hazel chuckled awkwardly, losing her grip. Oops, sorry, I got too excited. Come on, let's go. Your mom is waiting for you. You nodded with a small smile and followed Hazel out. The moment you saw your parents, you couldn't help but rush toward them, hugging them warmly. How are you, sweetie? I'm good, Dad. Mom, how about you? You glanced at your mom, noticing her teary eyes as she pulled you into a tight hug. Mom, are you crying because I am back? Wait, should I leave again? You pretended to step back, only for your mother to tug your ear gently. Don't even joke about that. Ouch, Mom, that hurts. Everyone laughed, the warmth of the moment filling the air as you all headed home. It had been a long journey back to Busan, Korea, after graduating from the prestigious University of America. But as much as you were happy to see your family again, one thought lingered in your mind. Why had not your sister come to pick you up? Once home, you all settled into the cozy living room. You sank into the couch, unable to keep your question to yourself. Dad, Mom, where's Sophia? She didn't even come to meet me at the airport. Your parents exchanged nervous glances, their unease immediately raising your suspicions. Why don't you freshen up first? We will talk later. Though curious, you nodded, deciding to let it go for now. With a sigh, you grabbed your suitcase and headed to your room, wondering what was going on. After taking a refreshing shower, you changed into comfortable clothes and headed downstairs. Hazel, your best friend, had already left to let you rest properly. Feeling a bit more relaxed, you made your way to the dining area where your parents were seated at the table. The delicious aroma of your favorite dishes wafted through the air, making you smile. Wow, Mom, you made all my favorite dishes. Thank you so much. Your mother smiled warmly, and the two of you began eating together. The atmosphere was light and pleasant until the meal ended. Just as you were about to leave the table, your father's voice stopped you. Wine, I need to talk to you about something. Yes, Dad, what is it? Your father hesitated for a moment, glancing at your mom before continuing. Your mom and I have been thinking we want you to marry the son of one of my friends. Your eyes widened in disbelief. What? Dad? What about Sophia? She's older than me. Shouldn't she get married first? A heavy silence filled the room as your father avoided your gaze. Actually, Sophia ran away with her boyfriend. What? Your mom nodded, her voice trembling. That's why we want you to marry her, fiance. It's the only way to avoid a bigger scandal. Your heart sank and panic surged through her. Mom, Dad, how can I? I don't even know him and I love someone else. Your father sighed deeply, his expression drawn but resolute. Wine, please understand, I have already given my word to my friend. The wedding is next week. Your voice cracked as you looked at your mom for support. Mom, I don't want this. Your mother couldn't bear to see the pain in your eyes. Tears welled up as she stood and left the room quietly, leaving you and your father in silence. Feeling overwhelmed, you retreated to your bedroom, collapsing onto the bed. Talking softly to yourself, and you try to make sense of the situation. Sophia, why did you do this? Didn't she realize how much shame this would bring to our family? If she truly loved someone, she should have talked to mom and dad, convinced them instead of running away. You sighed, frustration building up. But then again, I love someone too. How can I tell them? He doesn't even know my name. You were leaving your classroom, your gaze fixed on the floor, when suddenly a foot jutted out in front of you. Before you could react, you stumbled and fell, your books scattering across the hallway. Laughter erupted around you. That's where you belong, crawling on the floor, always clinging to my Jungkook oppa, huh? Her mocking voice was joined by the giggles of her friends, but you stayed silent, brushing off the dust from your jacket just as you bent to pick up your books. Another girl blocked your way. Ignoring us now, worse with the attitude. Before you could respond, Isabella let out a shriek as someone yanked her hair from behind. Everyone's attention turned to the figure standing there, the heartthrob of your college and your tormentor, Jungkook. If she's ignoring you, that's good. All her attention belongs to me. Oppa, my head, please let go. Jungkook released her with a rough shove, turning his intense gaze toward you. He walked closer and wrapped his arm firmly around your waist, pulling you closer. Don't even think about bullying her again. She's mine, only I get to mess with her. His smirk sent chills down your spine as you stared at him in shock. Let's go, sweetheart. Without a word, you picked up your bag and followed him down the hallway. The sound of hushed whispers trailing behind you. Chongok led you through the hallway, his grip on your wrist firm as you stumbled slightly, trying to keep up. Whispers and curious stares followed, but you were too nervous to look back. He finally stopped in front of an empty classroom, pushed the door open, and dragged you inside. The loud thud of the door closing sent a jolt through you. Before you could say anything, he pinned you against the wall. His hand resting beside your head while his other hand gripping your wrist. You really have a way of getting on my nerves, don't you? His voice was low, a mix of annoyance and something else you couldn't quite place. You tried to wriggle free, but his hold tightened. Jungkook, let me go. What's your problem? His lips curled into a smirk as his dark eyes bored into yours. My problem? You. Always walking around like you are invisible. Do you think I would let those girls treat you like that if I didn't care? Your heart skipped a beat at his words, but his mocking tone quickly crushed any sense of comfort. Here, you don't care about me. You're always bullying me. He tilted his head, his smirk fading into a cold glare, and you always pretending like you are so innocent. Do you know how annoying that is? Your brows furrowed as confusion and frustration mixed in your chest. I don't understand you. Jungkook, 1 second, you are saving me, and the next you are terrifying me. His hand moved from the wall to your chin, tilting your face upward to meet his gaze. His voice softened slightly, but his intensity remained. Good. You should be terrified. But remember this. He leaned closer, his breath warm against your skin, making you freeze in place. No one touches you except me. Got that? You stared at him, your heart pounding in your chest. His words left you speechless, and the vulnerability in his gaze only confused you further. Why? Why do you keep doing this? For a brief moment, his gaze flickered with something softer, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. He straightened up, releasing your wrist and stepping back. Don't ask stupid questions, sweetheart. Just stay out of trouble. You are mine to deal with. Before you could respond, he turned and walked toward the door, leaving you against the wall. Struggling to catch your breath as the door clicked shut behind him, you slide down to the floor, trying to make sense of the whirlwind of emotions he had left in his wake. You didn't know when it started, but somewhere amidst all the bullying and teasing, you begin to notice Jungkook in a way that confused you. Maybe it was because of moments like the one you could never forget. It had been a regular day. You were at your locker, sorting through your books, when a girl walked up to Jungkook, her laughter echoing through the hallway. She boldly grabbed his arm. Pressing herself against him while twirling her hair flirtatiously. At first, Jungkook's expression was cold, almost disinterested, but then his eyes shifted and locked onto you. He noticed you standing at your locker, your back stiffening as you tried to pretend you had not seen him. And that's when he smirked. To your surprise, he played along with the girl, leaning slightly closer to her and resting his hand lightly on her waist. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make your heart ache. You blinked back the sting of tears and quickly closed your locker. Walking away before he could see the hurt written across your face. What you didn't see was how the moment she disappeared down the hall, Jungkook shoved the girl away. Don't touch me again. Ignoring her stern protests, He stormed off, his gaze following the path you had taken. Since that day, you decided it was better to stay away from him. You began avoiding his gaze, ignoring his teasing remarks, and walking the other way whenever you saw him. It hurt, but it was better than feeling the sting of rejection again. One afternoon, as you were heading to the library, a familiar hand grabbed your wrist. Before you could react, Chungo dragged you into an empty classroom once again, closing the door behind him with a loud thud. Chungo, let me go. You tried to yank your arm free, but his grip was unyielding as he pinned you against the wall, his eyes blazing with frustration. What's your problem? Your brows furrowed as you glared at him. My problem. You are my problem. Stop doing this, Jungkook. I don't want to talk to you. His jaw clenched and he leaned closer, his presence overwhelming. You think you can just ignore me, walk away like I don't exist. Your heart ached, but you refused to let him see your pain. Why shouldn't I? You made it clear that I don't matter. Go back to those girls who throw themselves at you. His eyes darkened and he slammed his hand against the wall beside your head, making you flinch. Is that what you think? That I care about them? Your voice cracked as you pushed against his chest. What else am I supposed to think? You smirked at me while letting them cling to you like you enjoyed. You knew it hurt me, Chonguk, and you still did it. For a moment, his expression softened, but his frustration quickly returned. He grabbed your chin, forcing you to look at him. You are the one who ran away. You never even let me explain. You glared at him, tears pooling in your eyes. Explain what? That I'm just some toy for you to play with when you are bored? His eyes flickered with something unreadable, but instead of answering, he closed the distance between you and one swift move. His lips crashed against yours in a rough, desperate kiss that stole the breath from your lungs. You froze, your mind reeling. His hands gripped your waist tightly, pulling you closer as his lips moved against yours with a hunger that left no room for doubt. This wasn't just a game to him. When he finally pulled back, you were left gasping, your heart pounding in your chest. Jungkook, what was that? He smirked, his thumb brushing against your cheek. I told you are mine. No one else gets to have you, not even you. The memories of that day came rushing back, flooding your mind like an unstoppable tide. You sat on your bed, staring blankly at the wall as the echoes of his voice and the feel of his lips against yours replayed in your head. You tried to push it away to stop yourself from drowning in the emotions that memory always brought, but it was no use. Your chest ached, and before you knew it, tears welled up in your eyes. Why can't I forget him? You sniffled, wiping your tears with the back of your hand, but they wouldn't stop. Yes, you had fallen for him. long before you even understood why it was not just the moments of vulnerability he showed, but the way his presence consumed you. How you always seemed to take up all the space in your heart without even trying. But you never told him. How could you? You shook your head, letting out a bitter laugh as you reached for your phone. Unlocking it, you instinctively opened his profile. His display picture stared back at you. A casual shot of him sitting on his motorcycle, his casual smirk firmly in place. It was ridiculous. How even a picture could send your heart into a tailspin. Why did I even fall for him? Your voice was barely above a whisper, tinged with frustration and sadness. You remembered how you left without saying goodbye, not even a hint about going abroad for your graduation. You had told yourself it was for the best. If he knew, he would only mock you, call you clingy, or worse, pretend he didn't care. And he never called, not once, not even a text, to check if you are okay. You smiled bitterly, your thumb hovering over his name in your contacts list. You had not deleted it, though you told yourself countless times you would. Indeed, one sided love always hurts. With a heavy sigh, you turned your phone off and lay back on the bed, your arm draped over your eyes. The tears slowed, but the ache remained, like a stubborn bruise that refused to heal. You had spent so long convincing yourself to move on. But no matter how far you ran or how much you tried to bury those feelings, his shadow followed you, and the worst part, a small part of you didn't want it to stop. The day had arrived, the day you dreaded yet couldn't escape. Dressed in a breathtaking white gown adorned with delicate lace and sparkling embellishments. You looked nothing short of a fairy. The flowing veil cascading down your back completed the ethereal look. You stood in front of the mirror, trying to steady your trembling hands. The weight of the day pressed heavily on your chest. The door creaked open, and you turned to see your father stepping inside. His eyes widened as he looked in your appearance. Wow, my wine is looking like a fairy. For a moment, his smile warmed your heart, but it faltered as his gaze settled on the tears glistening in your eyes. He walked closer, his expression softening. Wine, look at me. Reluctantly, you met his gaze, noticing the tears welling up in his eyes too. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you wanted, but I couldn't break my promise. Trust me. Though he is a good man, I hope he will take care of you. Parents, we always try to make the best decisions for our children. His voice cracked slightly, and the guilt in his eyes tugged at your heart. You bite your lip and nod it, forcing yourself to hold back the sob, titanic to escape. I trust you, Dad. He smiled faintly and extended his hand. You placed your trembling hand in his, and he guided you toward the aisle. The ceremony was grand with an air of sophistication that matched the man waiting at the altar. Jungkook stood there in a sharp black tuxedo, the fabric perfectly tailored to his broad shoulders and slim frame. His smirk was subtle but unmistakable, a glint of confidence and dominance in his dark eyes. The whispers around the room were audible. He looks so handsome. Lucky girl, everyone wants him and now he's hers. But Jungkook wasn't paying attention to them. His gaze was locked on you, taking in every detail as you approached. You were stunning, but what held his focus was the mixture of emotions on your face. The sadness you tried to hide, the fear in your eyes, and the way your lashes fluttered nervously as you avoided his gaze. You stared at the floor, unable to look at him. Your father led you to the stage, his hand still firmly holding yours. When you reached Jungkook, your father turned to him, his voice low but firm. Please take care of my precious daughter. If you ever grow tired of her, don't hurt her. Just return her to me. Jungkook's smirk deepened, but his eyes held a sharp intensity as he took your hand from your father. His grip was firm, almost possessive, as he replied. His voice smooth yet laced with a dominant edge. Don't worry, sir, that will never happen. I always take care of what's mine. When Jungkook's voice rang out, deep and unmistakable, your heart froze. Got a shock, baby girl. Your head snapped up and your eyes widened in disbelief. That voice, how could you not recognize it? You blinked rapidly, your breath catching in your throat as your gaze met his. There he was, smirking down at you with the same devilish expression that had haunted your dreams and memories. You? How? Before you could take a step back, Chungk's hand shot out, wrapping firmly around your waist. His touch was warm, possessive, and unyielding, pulling you closer to him. Surprised, your mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. He was the one. The groom your parents had chosen for you was none other than Jungkook, the man you had tried so hard to forget. Jungkook turned his attention to the priest, his voice carrying a commanding edge. Would you like to hurry? I'm not in the mood to wait. The priest, startled by the sharpness in his tone, nodded quickly. Yes, sir. The vows were spoken, but you barely registered the words. Your heart pounded in your chest, and you could feel Jungkook's gaze burning into you the entire time. When the ceremony reached its climax and the priest announced, You may kiss the bride, Jungkook wasted no time. Leaning down, his lips hovered near yours, the smirk never leaving his face. His warm breath fanned your cheeks as he whispered, his voice low and teasing. Finally, found you, baby girl. Before you could process his words, his lips captured yours in a firm, possessive kiss. Your eyes widened, and for a moment you froze, unable to react. The kiss wasn't gentle, it was dominant, claiming, leaving no doubt in your mind that he meant every word. When he pulled away, his gaze remained locked on yours, his smirk deepening as he uttered the words that sent a shiver down your spine. Now you are just mine.